soldier of Anthony Robbins. More importantly, a great father, a wonderful husband, one of the first class and most amazing friends a human being can ever have. This guy is so passionate about doing the right thing and, more importantly, explaining why he does it, when he does it, and his goal in life is to improve the quality of every single human being that he touches. His communication skills are probably second to none. His ability to relate to the salespeople, the managers, and the people that he works with in the car business is off the chart. Absolutely. He's been part of my success for a long time. I can honestly tell you that he's one of my coaches, one of my mentors. I can tell you that I would have never achieved the success that I have had in the past and right now currently. I am very proud to call him a partner. I'm very proud to call him an associate. And more importantly, I'm very proud to call him a friend. Without any further ado, bring Mr. King Kinstead up here. Here he is, guys. Hold on. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Anyway, the last dealership I just left was with actually Roy Greenblatt, Matt Blatt. Who's heard of Matt Blatt? Okay, yeah, so I was one of the owners. I was one of the partners of Roy. And one of the things we did there, we spent a ton of money in advertising. Let's face it. We were spending a ton of money. Actually, this past summer, we spent over about $500,000 a month in advertising. But with the co-op and all that stuff, you get 50%. And the bottom line is this. How much did you improve or move the mark spending all that money? Double the business? Did you double your opportunities? If we're selling 450 cars a month, month in and month out, doing half of that, and if you know how to spend it properly with Suzuki, you can recoup half of it, can't you? Right? 50%. So if you double it, would you expect you could double it to 800 cars? Is that possible? Probably not. And it wasn't, actually. We can move the needle maybe about 8, 9%, but that's stretching it. The bottom line is this. What are we doing day in and day out to maximize every opportunity that we didn't sell? Let's face it, there's many reasons why we don't sell a particular customer. What are the reasons we don't sell someone today? Anybody? Credit? Yeah, of course. Yeah, credit. What else could be the problem? Trade? How about selection? What else could be the problem? Time? There's a lot of reasons why we couldn't put the deal together that particular moment. But the reality is this. What are we doing to follow up and maximize that opportunity? Let's see. This thing's actually getting ahead of me a bit. Moving forward. There we go. So the bottom line is this. Let's take a look at some basic industry facts. Okay? Let's take a look here and see where we're at. We're looking at page what? Page 72. There you go. Look at these. Bottom line is this. Take a look and see where we're going from. And take a look here. It says here that 9 out of 10 telephone calls will not result in a salesperson getting a name and number. Does that surprise anybody? Show of hands. Anybody here? Does that surprise anybody? The bottom line is this. Most of the time, when an incoming phone call does come in, the salesperson does what? He dances through the phone process, doesn't he? He goes through the motions. He's doing the best he can. Go back to train. How much training do we really get when it comes to the incoming phone call process? The reality is that we get very little. And as a dealer ourselves, how much training did you get on an incoming phone call process? Result is usually not a lot. If it's like what Doug said earlier, you kind of get to work and you hear the phone rings, you grab the phone, what do? Hey, I'm looking for an XYZ vehicle. Do you happen to have it in stock? If you do, how much is that vehicle? And the result is what? Not being trained, what do? Well, yes, I do have it, or no, I don't have it. The reality is this. You give us some information. The reality is also, how much does that vehicle cost? That's the next question out of the customer's mouth. True or false? Yeah, true, of course. And what do you say? Well, it's XYZ dollars. Or you say, well, we're not allowed to give the price over the phone. So what do? They get angry at you and they hang up, of course. The reality is there must be a much better approach to being able to take care of these customers. But so, again, look at these numbers. 9 out of 10. NADA said recently that it's better not to answer the phone. You got a higher chance, a higher probability of a customer coming to your dealership if you don't answer the telephone. Come on, I mean, that's pathetic. Also goes on and says, do some simple math. How much money do you spend a month making that phone ring? We spend so much money making the phone ring and the door what? Swing, absolutely. And what if we're doing 9 out of 10 of our customers are in that position, guess what? 90% of the ad budget when it comes to your phone is going where? It's going down the toilet. So the bottom line is this. There's got to be a better approach. But guess what? If you put together some good processes and do some good research and figure out what are the best practices, I'm a big believer that this, guess what? Success leaves clues, doesn't it? And so does failure. So if you can model yourself after some of the best processes, what's the result going to be, do you think? Success. 1 plus 1 equals 2, of course. Doesn't matter how many times you do it, it's going to be 2 every single time. That makes sense, doesn't it, guys? Also, moving along, it says here, 3 out of 4 BDCs do what? They fail. I mean, why do you think they fail? Anybody, why does a BDC fail? Communication with what? With the other departments. I'm a big believer that the baton, if you will, when it comes to the CDC or BDC, whatever you want to call it, it gets dropped. So what happens is this. In the back, when they're making these phone calls, all this heavy lifting, calls, calling who? Unsold traffic, calling your e-leads, calling your prospects, your references, referrals. They're back there doing all this heavy lifting to do what? Make 100 phone calls, maybe talk to 30 people, set 15 to 20 appointments. And guess what happens? It gets turned over to the front end of the dealership. And what is the manager doing with those leads? Hopefully we post it someplace nice so it shows that we're prepared for the opportunities that when they do walk in, that they know, hey, Ken Kinks is coming in today at 2:45. But you know what? I think Helmy said it earlier today. If they get there and the salesperson does some what? Prejudging, let's just say, and maybe says, oh, here comes another one of those BDC opportunities, guess what? Maybe that customer has got a 430 or a beacon score that he doesn't know just yet, but he's assuming a lot of things. And you know what? There's a thing called fruit. If I can't just knock the fruit off the tree right here nice and low, if I got to crawl up in that tree to get that fruit down, pass. You hear what I'm saying, guys, a little bit here? Sometimes it takes a few extra efforts, i.e., the road to the sale. I mean, obviously, the road to the sale is there for a reason. We want to maximize it, so you're right. When the opportunity does walk through the front door, if we're skipping those steps and we're not setting the customer up properly, i.e., a manager gets involved, like Daryl was talking about earlier today, and do like a reverse TO. Hey, thanks for coming out to the dealership. I was going through my notes today. I see you're coming in at 2:45, and I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'm prepared. I'm waiting for you. Now, who'd you speak to over at the BDC? Oh, I spoke to Tina. Hey, great. I'm glad she's great people. She probably told you then to bring what? Yeah, the steps. Let's have a seat up here real quick and sit down and get that information. Again, then we can set expectations. The customer wants, what do you think? He wants a SUV. But let's say he's making $1,500 a month and he's got a nickel in his pocket. What can he buy today? An SUV? Maybe. I doubt it, but let's figure it out. But the reality is this. We want to slow the customer down, right? Set expectations, and then do what? Give the salesperson every opportunity to maximize what? That time with that customer. Does that make sense a little bit? So he goes out there and he can master what? Meet and greet, the qualify, touch the desk to figure out where to go. Go out and do a great job with a feature advantage benefit, demo the vehicle, bring them back, totally jazzed, totally excited, got 45 yeses in the last 45 minutes and did what? Did his job. Built tremendous value in that customer, so we have the greatest opportunity to do what? Sell him a car. This is making sense a little bit, everybody? It's the right thing to do. And again, guess what? Most people don't do this. How come? Lack of accountability or lack of knowing what to do. Goes back to the dance. Telephone rings, and we get the call, and we do what with it? We dance through the process. Also, again, so you do some simple math, and also look at what it costs to set up a BDC. Again, setting up BDC, how about the space, the configuration of the furniture? X number of dollars. Telephone system. Do you have to invest in a telephone system? I don't know. Only you know that question. What's the cost factor on that? Computer, software, integration, phone system, your DMS, however it's going to work. You know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of things that go into that. Nuts and bolts. You got the BDC manager. How much does it cost to have that manager there? How about BDC staff? How many hours per hour? Other things that go into it. And total expenses. We can say this. Again, that's total lost profit if, in fact, it's not running effectively. So again, having a room in your dealership that you call a BDC or CDC, which really is just simply a build-out that you created with some phones in it and said, okay, go to work. Call these people up. Make it happen. Come on, make me proud. Again, going out and doing that is going to do what? Without any real solid training that goes in behind it, what will happen, do you think? It's going to fail. And that's why most people, and again, you have to raise your hand, but again, you know in your own mind, I tried that deal. And I'm not getting a lot of results out of that deal. The reality is this. I've been doing this for 20 years. Do you believe that? 20 years. I have not had a BDC fail, for me personally, in the last 10. Now, the first 10, I can't say that. Had a lot of problems. Because guess what? I'm talking from experience here. And that's what I did initially. That's what you do. Get a phone room in there. It's a cookie-cutter process. Make it happen and go to work. And here's some simple call principles and go to work and, make it happen. There's a lot to it. And what you said a moment ago, Rich, is really handing that baton off from the BDC to the front side of the dealership. That's the key fundamental area that makes this thing effectively flow or fall apart, quite frankly. Does that make sense, everybody? And again, it goes on here. Look at this here. Number 3, sales performance statistics. The average salesperson sold 10 cars. When? 30 years ago. 30 years ago. That was the average number of cars being sold by a salesperson. How about, look at this, it goes on 15 years ago. Did it go up or did it go down, you think? It was the same. It was 10. And how about today? What's the average number of cars sold per sales rep, according to NADA, as of last year? 8 to 10. Oh, my gosh. So again, what's the deal with that? So again, over the past 30 years, and by the way, has the cost of doing business in today's market, is it gone up or has it gone down? In retrospect, it's gone up by 900% over the past 30 years. Can you believe that? The cost of doing business has gone up 900%. So again, if we're getting the same results from our what? Our human capital, i.e. the sales department, 10 rigs per month, and the cost of business has gone up 900% over the past 30 years, again, what's going on? You can see here, it goes, expectation has gotten the same. Although what? The resources to do business phenomenally increased. So again, success is a choice. I'm a big believer in that. Who agrees? Success is a choice. And it's not always the easiest, easiest path to go down. Actually, creating success is hard work. That's why very few dealerships make the kind of money we're talking about making here. If we want to get ourselves, if it takes 100 cars a month to break even, let's just call in your dealership, how are you going to double your business? Or how are you going to add 30% to that business? If spending more money isn't the answer in terms of advertising, how else do you do it? You got to maximize what you've got. You got to squeeze everything you can. And you got to invest in who? In your people, your human capital. I mean, let's face it, you can spend all the money in the world in who? In advertising, making the phone ring, making the doors swing, doing all those things. But the reality is this, how much time are we truly investing in our people to get them to the next level? Bottom line is this, there's opportunity to improve. And obviously you're here for one reason. You know that, obviously, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. Common sense, right? All right, next slide. Let's go here. It says this. There we go. Okay, follow up for dummies. It says here that, again, our automobile industry has done what? Take a peek here. It continues to face the monumental challenge of elevating its integrity and professionalism while pursuing what? Customer retention. Is that true or false, do you guys think? Is that true or false? Let it sink in a little bit. Does it make sense? Is it true? It is, isn't it? It goes on to say, today's buyer is more sophisticated and educated, requiring what? A more professional approach to selling. Today's buyer requires professional treatment rarely before associated with the car business. Is that true or false? Yeah, it is. So again, our people are getting more, savvy when it comes to buying cars. And why do you think? The internet, of course. But let's face it, what's the customer's biggest fear in buying a vehicle? The number one fear that prevents them from just stepping up and buying. What does he think? No, it's not. It's number 2, is paying too much. The biggest fear is this, buying the wrong car. That's their number one fear. The second biggest fear they have is paying too much. So again, how do they alleviate the customer, from the customer's point of view, how do they alleviate that fear of buying the wrong car? When in reality is this, how many vehicles are there to choose from in today's market? Yeah, thereabouts, about 1,500 vehicles. Now, you go back just 10 years ago, how many vehicles were to choose from? 900. You go back another 5 years before that, how many were there to choose from? 500. Median price car, last year's, how much money do you think? Median, not average, median price car was $25,000. You go back 10 years, it was just $20,000. You go back 5 years from that, it was what? It was $10,000. The reality is this, the cost of the cars is going where? Up, up, and up. And the amount of types of vehicles are going where? Up, up, and up. Plus, you add the internet, which does what? It educates who? The consumer, so they can get all this information. They get analysis through paralysis, or I guess paralysis through over-analysis. And that's why the average timeline it takes to buy a vehicle is slowing down. So that's why it's important, obviously, that we have a system or follow-up that we can take care of and follow through this process with the customers so we can catch them in the deal. Is this making sense a little bit? So again, that's why I'm saying it's a much more sophisticated customer than ever before. Knowing that. Now, if you don't know that, and again, we treat the customer the same way we did years ago, where's that business going to go? Down the street. And buy from who? The competition. It says here, the philosophy of this is to train automotive professionals to participate in a structured, accountable phone-up program. The system will, by its design, improve customer satisfaction and retention, increase sales, improve morale, and most importantly, do what? Increase your profits. That's the bottom line. It goes back to and says a thoroughly trained team of managers is key to the continued success of what? Your phone-up system. The roles of the manager are highly critical in allowing the system to reach its what? True potential. As the duties and responsibility of your managers become clear to you in this training course, you too understand the importance of their effectiveness. The bottom line is this. The speed of the team is always determined by the pace who sets? The leader sets. Again, so we have to train. Again, because you know what you know. If you don't know what you don't know, you're just unconsciously what? Incompetent. So we have to go through that process of learning.